Okay, I'm gonna kick it off. So, welcome everybody. This is the second webinar we've run in our series of webinars running up to the Toys for Engineers event. If you missed the previous one, it was all about how to secure funding for research, development, and innovation. And if you want to see it, just give me a shout, and we can send you out a copy of that. But this one is, as the title suggests, ChatGPT for Business, a tutorial. I'm Kevin Doolin. I'm the Executive Director of the Walton Institute in SETU, and I'm the President of Waterford Chamber. Just a very quick agenda. We're going to try and keep this to an hour. So just so you know, at the very end, there'll be a slide with a link where you can request a copy of this video of the webinar. You can get the slides that I'm going to present, and you can get a document with all the GPT prompts and things that I mentioned throughout this tutorial. So don't worry if it seems like an information overload. All the information is there. You can just click on use the QR code at the end to access it. So very briefly, what I'm going to try and cover today is Walton Institute, just in a slide or two, just some disclaimers then about using GPT. Then what is GPT and why would I want to use it? Should you pay for it or not pay for it? And then I get into what's called prompting, which is essentially how you interact with ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever AI tool you're going to use. I'll also run through a number of sample prompts that might give you some ideas of how to use the system. I'll show you how to analyze data in spreadsheets. I will show you how to generate presentations, images and videos and so on. And then some additional AI tools and techniques and bits and pieces. And then we'll finish up with just a note on some of the more upcoming events that we're running between ourselves and Walton Institute and Waterford Chamber as part of our innovation series. So very quickly, an overview. Walton Institute, we're based out of the Carriganore campus in Waterford. We're part of SETU. We are an international research institute focused on ICT software. We're self-funded, so we've secured over 140 million euro in research funding to date. And an important note there is that we can help companies and organizations like yourselves to secure funding from Enterprise Ireland, Science Foundation Ireland, European Commission, and so on, if you want to embark on a research and innovation journey. And you can just contact us to talk a little bit about that. Just some of the technologies that we research out in Carriganore. Our history and our heritage is in networks and telecommunications services. I'm getting the message here, someone can't see the slides. Hang on. Carl, can we see the slides? All right, let me see. Sorry, folks. Let me go again with this. Now, can we see them now?
Yeah, you're good there now.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, folks. Yeah. So you didn't miss much. So yeah, our heritage is in telecommunication networks and technologies. More recently, we've gone into the area of quantum communications. We also have a professional services group. These are the kind of hardcore software developers, graphic designers, and testers, and so on, that can develop commercial and pre-commercial technologies. We do a lot of work around mixed reality, so augmented reality and virtual reality, AI, obviously, and data. We have a smart garments and e-textiles facility where we can make smart materials. On the fundamental science side, we do a lot of work around molecular communications and things like brain-to-machine interfaces. And then as a kind of catch-all, we have the Internet of Things. So we see these essentially as enabling technologies. And we apply them then into multiple different verticals, such as entertainment, agri-tech, digital health, smart energy, transport, fintech, heritage and tourism, and so on. So if you're interested in any of those verticals and how these technologies that we have out in Walton Institute might apply to your own business, please do get in touch with us and come out and visit us out in Carriganore, and we'll walk you through what we have on offer there. So into the guts of the presentation, just a few disclaimers before I get started. I will be showing you a number of different AI sites and tools and so on. This isn't Waterford Chamber or Walton Institute giving an endorsement to these tools. They're just ones that I use day to day. So it's totally up to yourselves if you want to use them. Also, I would say you shouldn't assume that artificial intelligence is going to replace the human touch. Really, you should use it as a tool or a support for your business, but not a replacement for it. Also, try not to become over-reliant on these AI tools. It can become very easy to do so. But it has been noted in scientific reports and so on that this does actually impact on people's critical thinking. It nearly takes a lot of the thought process out of people's day-to-day work. So just be careful about things like that. Another thing to note is you should always verify the information generated from artificial intelligence. Sometimes AI systems can actually hallucinate and make up information, so it's always worth double checking. You can also mitigate potential biases in responses. So depending on what AI system you're interacting with, that would have been trained on a set of data. And that data could contain biases. It could contain biases around race or gender or nationalities and things like that. So you always want to just be a little bit conscious of that too. Obviously, we should use AI responsibly. It needs you need to be quite ethically aware when you're using AI and avoid things like plagiarism and copyright infringement and so on. And finally, when you're using systems like this, make sure you adhere to your own company policies about uploading things like company's data into an online tool that disappears off into the cloud, and you're not really sure who's using it. So just a few things to be aware of before you embark on your GPT journey. So to start off with here, we'll just talk a little bit about what is ChatGPT. So it's an artificial intelligence chatbot. It uses natural language processing to create very human-like conversational dialogue with various users. It's a form of what's called generative AI, which is essentially AI that can generate content. So it's a tool to let users enter prompts to receive human-like images, text, or videos that are created by AI. So the first thing to point out is ChatGPT isn't the only option. It's probably the one that most people have heard in their day-to-day conversations and in business and so on. But there are multiple options, and I've just given the links there to different ones you might want to try. So ChatGPT is the one you've probably all heard of. More recently, you've probably heard of DeepSeek, which has come out of China, which is also a very good tool. Microsoft Copilot, which you'll find embedded in your Microsoft 365 if you have a subscription there. There's also Google Gemini, and there's another one, Perplexity AI, and there's multiple other ones as well. So it's worthwhile, registering on a few of these, trying them out, and seeing where they bring you on your AI journey. I just have a little arrow there on the login button. What I'm showing here on screen is this is the first screen you'll see when you go to ChatGPT. It is worth logging in and setting up an account because you get a lot more options out of the system when you have an account with it, and it stores your history of previous interactions with the artificial intelligence as well. So well worth setting up an account. I just use my Google account, not a business account for it. So why would you want to use it? Well, it really is a potential game changer for businesses of all sizes, for things like market research, for social media campaigns, for content creation, idea generation, and brainstorming, business strategy creation, problem solving, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to show you a very quick example to whet the appetite here on the right-hand side of the screen. So let's say you run a small cafe in Waterford. And you want to figure out how to improve your business. So I'm typing in a prompt here. My typing is very slow, but what are the latest trends in coffee in Ireland? And let's see what the GPT comes back with as a response. So you literally just type in what are the latest trends in coffee in Ireland. It does a bit of thinking, and you can see here it's starting to pop out multiple different results. and ideas that I could think about. So next I'm going to say, how would this apply to my own coffee business in Waterford? How would I incorporate these trends? So you can see I'm actually getting in now into a conversation with the artificial intelligence. So I'll ask it, how do I incorporate these trends into my cafe? And it's saying things like focus on flat whites or have alternative milks, use sustainability initiatives, experiment with different type of brewing methods and so on. And then finally, I'm just going to ask it, how can I promote my coffee making activities on social media? And you'll see it comes up with quite a long list of suggestions as to what I could do to promote my business on social media as well. I'll just let it play through there. And as I said, you can get a copy of the webinar and the slides and so on. So don't worry about trying to take notes or follow along what's scrolling here on the screen. All I'm trying to show you is you can see from some very simple prompts the wealth of information that pops out on the other end. So I won't let that play through. We'll just go on to the next quick example. So the next very quick example is if you run, for example, a construction business based in Waterford. And you'll have seen the recent 2025 programme for government. Now, I'm sure you've all read it in detail, but just in case you haven't, what you can do is you can get ChatGPT to actually read it for you and extract any insights that are relevant to your industry. So right here, I'm just dropping the programme for government file, which is a public document. So, it's searchable on the web. So I'm not putting any private information up. I'm dropping it into ChatGPT. And I'm then telling ChatGPT, I want you to act as a construction industry expert, read the attached document and highlight the top 5 initiatives I should focus on in order to drive my construction business forward. And again, you can see it's pulling out the most relevant points that it finds in this document and giving suggestions as to why it would be important for me within the construction industry. So you can see here, this is just literally 2 very quick examples just to show you the power of technologies like ChatGPT and what it can do for your business. Of course, you can get into much more in-depth conversations with the artificial intelligence and with various documents that you upload into it. So this is really just to whet your appetite, I suppose. One of the first questions we often get asked, or I often get asked, is it worth paying for a subscription for ChatGPT or any other AI system like DeepSeek and so on? And really, it depends what you want to do with the system, and it depends how often you want to use it. So personally, I don't pay for it. I just use the free version all the time. So like, for example, within ChatGPT, there are a number of limitations to that. The first limitation is if you're on the free version, you only get limited access to the system that's called GPT 4.0. Now, GPT 4.0 is one of the latest iterations of the kind of back-end engine that works for artificial intelligence. And it has better access to the internet to find information to help you with your results. But if you're on a free account and the server and systems get overloaded with too many users, it'll switch you back to GPT 3.5, which isn't as powerful. So you're getting less power if you're going there for free. The other thing, I suppose, is it's slower if you're on the free version, and you've only a limited amount of prompts and responses that you can get with a system like that. So you could be getting in deep into a conversation with AI around your business, and then it'll tell you, sorry, you have to wait 2 hours before you can ask another question, or even wait till tomorrow. If you have a paid subscription, you don't need to wait, and it will be a lot faster. Also, paid subscriptions give a lot more advanced data analysis technologies and things like more file uploads and things like image generation and so on. It uses a lot more powerful underlying technologies if you're paying for the system. So what I would suggest is, try out the GPT, be it ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever. Try it for free, and if you find you're getting a lot of value for it, then you might want to consider using a paid version for that as well. Okay. So next thing I'm going to get into is what is prompting. So essentially, prompting is how you interact with any artificial intelligence system. And just for the fun of it, I've just shown here, I just put a very quick prompt to get it to generate a nice image that I could put on my slide here. So I just said, create a high-tech image on a dark background that I can use in my presentation entitled ChatGPT for Business, a tutorial. And you can see the image that it popped up here. It's also important to note that I didn't put any thought into getting the image generated. I made a very simple prompt and it gave a relatively simple image. If you spend more time with the artificial intelligence system and give it more context about what you want, you will get a lot more out of it. So the first thing I'd say to you when you're getting started, you will find yourself writing lots of different prompts for different things. And this might sound like an obvious thing to say, but save them all somewhere. Set up a file structure on your computer with folders for different prompts, like for brainstorming or market research or writing copy or data analytics or even mentoring. And within that, have a file where you have prompts that actually work for you, because you will find yourself going back to those prompts again and again. So, play around with the GPT system, find what works for you, and then save copies of those prompts, and you can edit them then in the future and just paste them back into the GPT when you want to use them again. So some of the basic things you need to know when you're writing these prompts, you need to be very clear and concise. So use very clear language, avoid any ambiguity, tell it directly what you want it to do. So instead of saying something like, tell me about remote work, you could ask it, list the 5 benefits of remote work, and you get a much clearer answer. Another important thing to do is assign a persona to the GPT that you're interacting with. Tell it the personality that you want it to act as. So for example, I'm saying here, act as a social media expert and provide tips for boosting engagement on Instagram. And if you do that, if you tell it the role you want it to adopt, the answers that it will produce for you will come out from the perspective of that role. So you could have, act as a construction industry expert, act as a retail expert, and so on. And it makes a huge difference to the outputs you get. Next, I would say it's very important to provide as many detailed pieces of information and examples you can to the system. Like the more context and examples you provide, the better the AI can tailor its responses to you. So for example, here I'm saying act as a financial advisor and suggest investment strategies for a 35-year-old with moderate risk tolerance. That's been very specific about what we wanted to do. And then finally, be very clear on the type of output you want the artificial intelligence system to provide. So example, write a 300-word blog post on the benefits of a plant-based diet, for example. So what's very useful to do is to create what we call a prompt framework. The one I'm showing here on screen where it says task, context, references, evaluate, and iterate. This is the prompt framework that Google suggests people to use, but it's quite similar to the one that's produced by OpenAI. That's the company that makes ChatGPT. So something along these lines, if you follow this format, you won't really go wrong. So the first thing you want to do is specify the task. So what do you want the AI to do? So for example, I'm saying, I want you to generate a new research strategy for the Walton Institute. Then you should add a persona. So I'm saying act as an expert in the 3rd level R&I activity. And then you specify the output. Could be like organize the outputs into a table or produce 5 key recommendations with actions that I could undertake, or whatever kind of output you actually want to get from the system. Next, you want to set the context, and the more context you give, as I said already, the better the output you're going to get. So try and provide as much detail as possible. Excuse me. So for example, you could paste your organizational summary, or you could upload a document, as I showed a little bit earlier, or even get the system to ask you questions about your business to make sure it fully understands it. And I'll show you an example of that in just a second. Then in terms of references, you can provide samples of details or the formats that you want the AI to follow. You could get it to copy a style. So for example, if your company has a particular style of writing when they're producing copy for the internet, you can upload that and tell it to copy that style just by saying using a similar style of writing to the attached document, or use a similar style to the attached image, or whatever it is you want to copy. So you can get an AI system to kind of learn the style and way of talking online of your particular business, and then its responses will be in that style as well. Then when you're finished prompting, you're going to get an output, and the first thing you want to do is evaluate that output. Is it what you expected it to be? If it is, that's great. If it's not, then you need to iterate. So go back to the prompt again and make some changes and tweak bits and pieces of how you ask the questions to get it to do what you want. And that's the iteration process. More often than not, you won't get your desired answer the very, very first time you put in a prompt into the system. Okay, so I'm just going to give another very quick example of how this might work. So you can see up on the top right of the screen, I've written a prompt where I've said, act as an expert website copywriter. Please write some website copy that promotes the funding models that the Walton Institute has available for prospective clients. So that's the task that I'm specifying as part of my framework. Then in terms of giving it context, I'm saying before you do this, ask me 10 questions so that you fully understand the content to be included. So you can see here the response I'm using ChatGPT in this example. So it says, to ensure I craft compelling and accurate website copy that promotes the Walton Institute's funding models, here are 10 questions to fully understand the content and context. And you can see the questions that it asked me. So all I need to do is I come back and I will give it 10 answers to the 10 questions. These can be as detailed or not as detailed as you want them to be. But it's a very useful exercise because it really gets you to think about what you're trying to say, for example, in an article or in a piece of online content. And it really thinks about different aspects of your business that you're trying to discuss with an artificial intelligence system. So you can see here I've put in a set of 10 responses into the system. Hit return, and then here's the output website copy that the ChatGPT produced. I'm not going to read through it all. You can see it there yourselves. And my next stage in the process is that I would evaluate this. Is this doing, is it producing what I wanted it to produce? And if not, maybe I can go back and change some of the answers to the questions, or maybe I can get it to focus on a different aspect of my business, or to write in a different tone, and so on. But you can see even from that very short example, even the website copy it produced here as a first draft, you could pretty much take this and put it up online. So job done. And that's literally just taken as long as it took me to answer the answers to those 10 questions. So it's very, very quick. A couple of other things just to mention in terms of this prompting framework. When you're putting in the references, when you create your own templates for a prompt, there are certain phrases that will nearly always make the output better. So just include them in every prompt that you use. The first one is, or the first one I use is, for any external sources, provide the URL for the source you are using. So this forces the AI that anywhere it's referencing an external document or a publication or a website, it'll actually give you the website link for the source material. So you can click on it and make sure that it is actually valid. Because sometimes artificial intelligence systems, as I said earlier, they hallucinate and they make up sources, which you don't want. You don't want to be referencing sources that just don't exist at all. So force it to give you the URL so you can go and check. Also, you can say to it, it's okay to say that you do not know how to answer. This is a little bit like talking to a child, right? But if you tell the system that it's okay to say you don't know how to answer, then it won't make up things. It'll just tell you, I don't have a source for that, or I can't find an answer for that. And the final one, which I'm going to show an example on the next slide, is tell it to think step by step and explain its thought process as it proceeds. So this is what I call thinking out loud. And you might wonder, why would you want to do something like this? And the easiest example I have is even with my own kids, for example, my son is in junior cert and he's doing maths. So he'll get assigned a maths question and he'll produce the answer. But he might not necessarily show you the steps he took along the way to get to that answer, which is what he should be doing. It's the same thing with, and so by not doing that, he may not be thinking clearly about all the steps he's followed to get to a particular answer. The same thing applies to artificial intelligence. So if I ask it a question, for example, here I'm asking it, what is the meaning of life? And you'll see it spits out this very short answer on what the meaning of life actually is. It's fine as an answer, but it doesn't go into a whole lot of detail, and I don't know how it came up with that conclusion. So on the next slide, I've asked it the same question, but I've said, what's the meaning of life? Let's think step by step and explain your thought process as you proceed. So now you can see you get a lot more in-depth responses coming out of the system. So first of all, it's trying to understand what do we mean by the word meaning, and it breaks it into different components. And then it looks at different perspectives on the different meanings of meaning. And then it goes along the religious lines, philosophical lines, and so on. And then it proceeds to try and integrate these different perspectives and then synthesize the result and to give some final thoughts. So you get a lot more nuanced and detailed output coming from the system. And the importance of doing something like this is then when you're evaluating the responses, I could turn around and go, well, I'm not interested in the religious or spiritual perspective. So redevelop your answer and exclude that. So you can tell it the bits and pieces you want to take out. One thing to note is I've written on in red here on the bottom, DeepSeek, which is one of the other AIs out there that you can use. It has a button to do this kind of thinking out loud automatically, and it's called Deep Think. So when you open DeepSeek's interface, you'll see a button saying Deep Think, and if you click on that, you get slower but way more detailed responses out of the system as well. So here's another example of the evaluation and iteration process. So in this prompt, I'm saying I'm the director of Walton Institute. We're an ICT-focused institute, blah, blah, blah. We engage with Enterprise Ireland and IDA and so on, and we show companies how to leverage R&D funding. And we've identified 27 funding mechanisms that local companies can use to start their R&D journey. And as I said before, if you want to find out about that, you can get access to our previous webinar. But I'm asking it here to create a compelling professional business-focused advertisement views on social media based on the information above. So you can see the output here. It's going, unlock your R&D potential with Walton Institute, or why partner with us and start your innovation journey today, which is a nice, short piece that we could pop up on social media. But then I want to iterate and make it a little bit better. So I'm saying make the above advertisement more compelling and attractive for companies, and include suggestions for an image to go with the text. So now it has changed the response. It's made it a little bit more exciting, and it's changed the tone of it. And you can iterate, you can tell it to tone back or be more formal and things like that till you get the result you want. Again, the point here is that it produced this in a matter of seconds, whereas you might be sitting down at your desk thinking about it for an hour or however long it would take to come up with a particular piece of copy. So the speed of the system is what's really important here. Then it'll come back, as I asked it to, with a number of suggestions for images to go along with that post. So it's suggesting here maybe a high-tech business handshake between two people, or a dynamic collage of logos showing IDA and Enterprise Ireland, Science Foundation Ireland, and so on, or an innovative graph or a flow chart, or some sort of futuristic cityscape or business environment, just something that would look nice on the social media post. So what I did was very quickly, I took the first suggestion, a high-tech business handshake between two people, representing collaboration and partnership with a background of digital data streams or circuits to emphasize ICT. So this image was actually generated by copy and pasting that image suggestion at the top into a website called flux-ai.io. It can also be generated, and that was a free service. You can also do it directly in ChatGPT. Just ask it, generate this high quality image, blah, blah, blah. And you can see the image that it produced. Again, I can iterate on that image and get it to look better. Maybe get it to make sure that one of the people's hands doesn't look like it only has 3 fingers, for example, and things like that. But as a quick demonstration of the capability, you can see nearly in an instant, it gives me a nice image to show on my website or my Facebook page or whatever it is, or wherever I want to put that particular post. Okay, so what I'm going to do now in this section is just flick through a number of different types of prompts for different types of things you can do with your artificial intelligence system. It just might give you some ideas on how to use it. As I said at the start, if you want a copy of all these prompts and more prompts, just scan the QR code at the end of this webinar. And that'll bring you to a form where you can request the video, you can request the slides, and you can request a document with all the prompts in it. So don't worry if you can't keep up or you're trying to write stuff down. We'll give you all this information at the end of this session as well. So again, and these are just some examples. So the first is where I would use an AI system to give me expert level insights for my business. So things like act as a top, whatever industry professional, analyze a particular problem or situation and give me a solution using expert level strategies. Or I could ask it to look at another company, go break down how a successful person or company achieved a specific goal and identify the key steps I can apply to my own situation or my own business, or my own country, and so on. Also, you could get at things like find the most recent and credible sources on a particular topic and summarize the key insights that are in there for me. Now, you probably can't read this one, but this is one, a set of prompts around business supports. So things like, analyze my business idea. You can paste in the idea for your business. Identify potential challenges, opportunities, and target audience. Or suggest 5 profitable niches within a particular industry that have a high demand, but low competition. Pick another one. Here, for example, here's a meeting transcript, and you can paste in a meeting transcript, turn this into a summary with key decisions and action items and so on. So lots of different things you can do here to help it support your business. There's another interesting one near the bottom where I go, I regularly complete the task of whatever the task is and how it's described. Create a checklist template that standardizes this task, making it faster and less error prone every time I perform it. So you can really use this to examine how you go about day-to-day work and improve it as well. There's also a prompt in here about analyzing data, and I'll show you a worked example of that in just a second as well. Okay, and there's just some more business support. So for example, what strategies are successful small businesses in whatever industry using to attract customers? What seasonal trends should a business type in Waterford prepare for in the next 6 months? And based on the trends we've discussed, what are 6 actionable steps my business can take to stay competitive in Waterford? You could also paste in customer reviews. Here are some customer reviews from my business. What are the common trends or themes emerging in this feedback? And it'll do an analysis on that for you as well. And if you ask it, it'll suggest ways to improve your business based on that feedback. Let's say you want to learn something new. Create a 30-day structured learning plan to master whatever skill, including exercises and milestone goals. I'm having difficulty learning about a topic. Help me understand it better by using first principles thinking. So it'll apply first principles thinking as a way of mapping out a particular problem and solution. And it'll develop out a learning plan for you based on that as well. I want to learn about a particular topic, let's say wind energy. Determine and share the 20% of the topic's lessons that are most crucial to understanding the remaining 80%. So you can get it to focus on what are the top 20% of things you need to know about a particular topic that'll let you learn all about the rest of it, and it'll do that for you. Also help AI to actually help you. So you could get a piece of text or copy that you've written. You could say to it, analyze the text below for the style, the voice, and the tone. Now create a prompt to write a new paragraph in the same style, voice, and tone. So you can actually get an AI to suggest good quality prompts that you can use to interact with it as well. Or you can quite simply say, help me design a new prompt to do whatever it is you particularly want to do. Or you might want to get it to evaluate and give suggestions on whatever prompt you want to put in there. So you can actually get it to analyze the prompts you're trying to write and make them better for you as well. And it does an excellent job in actually doing that. Let's say then you want to simplify or clarify a particular topic or a subject. Again, it all depends on how you ask your GPT system about that. So let's say I'm writing about whatever complex topic it is for a general audience. Help me to break it down and clarify the main points using analogies or relatable comparisons to ensure clarity. So I've done another example previously where I do quantum communication, which is a very complicated topic, but it really breaks it down into simple terms that are appropriate for maybe less technical audiences, for example. You can get it to create mind maps for you around topics. There's a prompt there for that. You might want it to help you make a choice. So for example, I'm in the middle of making a choice at the moment. Well, the choice is made, but I was in the middle of making a choice between moving from a diesel car to an electric vehicle. I can put that into ChatGPT and say, create scenarios for each option. If I go diesel or I go electric, what are the scenarios? What are the possible outcomes and consequences to help me inform my decision? And it produces quite an informative piece resulting from that. I could also add to that by telling it to ask me questions about myself. So it starts asking me, what's your daily commute and how often do you use the car and so on and so forth. And again, this is all about having a conversation with the artificial intelligence system. Okay, so the next one, just again, very briefly to show you if you want to analyze a piece of data. So what I'm showing on the left-hand side of the screen here is a very simple spreadsheet. I just downloaded it off the web, where it shows student name, gender, as you can tell, this is American, right? Class level, home state, major, and extracurricular activity. So this is in Microsoft Excel in a spreadsheet. So on the right-hand side, I'm using DeepSeek, and ChatGPT would do this just as well, but I just want to show you DeepSeek. I basically dropped the spreadsheet onto DeepSeak, and I've asked it, what are the insights you can pull from this data? So I didn't ask it a very complicated question, but you can see here, it's given the gender distribution. It's showing popular extracurricular activities. It's showing the gender distribution by major, and then it gives a summary of the patterns in the data that come out at the end. So again, you can see the power of this. If you've got a very complicated spreadsheet, and we see this in Walton Institute all the time, companies can come along, excuse me, and they have a set of data, and they want to extract additional meaning from that data that they might not see just by looking at a spreadsheet or by trying to put formula into that spreadsheet. You can use ChatGPT to help you do that and do that analysis and find new meanings in your data that you mightn't have seen there before. You can also get it to generate, graphs and summaries and things like that as well. So it's a very useful way of getting new meaning from your data or analyzing your business. Okay, the next one I'm going to cover is presentations. So you might want to generate a nice presentation or a set of slides. I'm going to show you two different ways of actually doing this. So in the first one, I'm just using ChatGPT. So what I've done here is I've taken a report that's, again, freely available online. It's called the HubSpot AI Trend Report from 2024. So I've dropped that into my ChatGPT interface. And then I ask it, I want to prepare 8 to 10 slides which discuss the impact of AI on digital marketing. Please prepare a set of text-based slides for me to be presented to an audience of master's level students in the university. The content for the slide should come from the uploaded document and should extract the most interesting points from the report. For each slide, provide a short set of speaker notes. And you can see here some of the output that it actually produced. It gives you a title slide, it gives any subtitles you want, it gives the main points that are going to go on the slides, and a very short set of speaker notes as well. And that's incredibly powerful, you know, even to create just the template or structure for a presentation that you might want to give. You can feed it in a piece of information or text, and it will produce the outline of those slides for you. So next thing, you might want to take that a little bit further. So what I'm doing here is I've taken the output from ChatGPT, and I'm going to get it to actually generate a set of slides. So within ChatGPT, I'm just going to run this little animation here. Within ChatGPT, when you're logged in, you'll see a sidebar here with a button saying Explore GPTs. If you click on that, I'll just pause for a second. If you click on that, it'll show you dedicated, I suppose, mini apps that have been created within ChatGPT with a specific purpose. So, for example, there's an Expedia one, there's video to AI, there's website generators, there's a whole multitude of options in there. These only appear, by the way, if you've logged into or signed up to a GPT system. Even if it's free, once you log in, you'll get these options appearing. But for this example, I'm using a tool called Magic Slides. So I just go into the search bar and I type in Magic Slides. I click on Magic Slides app and I click Start Chat. And then basically I will just paste this presentation outline that I generated previously on the previous slides. And on the right-hand side, you can see the slides that are produced as a result, which is a nice set of slides with my content in there. Personally, I think there's a better way to do it. And this is a tool called gamma.ai. So I'm showing a couple of screenshots here. So if you go to the website gamma.app, you'll come on this landing page here where you see Created AI. You can paste in a block of text. There's multiple options. You can paste in a block of text. You can generate slides from a prompt, or you can import a file or a URL to generate the slides for you. So what I've done here is, for the upcoming edition of Waterford Chambers Network magazine, I wrote an article by myself, by the way, not with ChatGPT, about the circular innovation economy and the importance of wind energy and renewable energy and education and research and so on. So I've taken the text of that article and I've literally just pasted it into gamma.ai to get it to create a presentation for me. So to this point, this is about 2 minutes work, copy paste. And I just want to show you the quality of the slides that it produced. I didn't ask it to do anything more complicated than just produce a set of slides. But, you know, it was actually, I think, very impressive. I'll just run this little video here. So you can see that nicely formatted. They talk about SETU, they talk about DMAP zones, they show data parks, and so on, and they show wind farms. Now, I know that went by very quickly, but it actually is personally, I think, a very nice looking presentation, generated pretty much in an instant that I can just download then from Gamma, and then I can go off and present. So again, it's just an example to show you there's extremely powerful tools out there that you can use. Okay, we've seen that one. Next, very quickly, because I know we're coming up on the hour, is around images and videos. So you might want to make an image to go with your website or an article or whatever else it is you want to do, or even generate an image that you could give to you know, a proper consultancy firm or graphic design firm, showing you the type of thing you want them to create. Because sometimes AI images, certainly ones that we generate for free, there may not be the best resolution or may not fully convey the message that you want. But this is a very simple one. There's two websites I use for this. One is called openart.ai. You can see them written on the top, or ideogram.ai. So in this example, I go into OpenArt. Again, I set up a free account. And I just typed in a prompt, a businessman in the tech industry walking at night in the city. I clicked on create, and you can see the image it created on the right-hand side of the screen, which is fine. And again, I could iterate this, I could evaluate it and iterate it. I could put a lot more detail into what I want to come from the image. I was literally just putting this in here just to show you guys that within 2 minutes, I've created an image that I could potentially use for other things. But let's say then I want to animate that image. So there's another website, and again, you can sign up for a free account called runwayml.com. So in Runway, and there's other sites that do the same thing. This is just the one I'm showing as an example. So in runway.ml, I took the image that I generated on the previous slide, I dropped it in, and I just added the prompt, a man walking away from the camera at night in the rain. And you can see the animated image it produced over there on the right-hand side. Again, this is less than a minute's work or a minute's effort I put into getting it to create that video. I could create a lot more compelling or detailed or longer videos if I had the need. But this is just, again, to show you that very quickly you can create this type of content and get a lot of value out of it. One thing I'll say on sites like Runway ML and others, when you sign up for a free account, you can see it here in the middle of the screen, you get a certain number of credits. So basically, it will let you have a couple of goes at generating content for free. After that, you're going to have to pay. But again, it is worth playing around with these technologies to see if there's something you could actually embed into your business and use within your business as well. Okay, next I just want to talk very briefly about using artificial intelligence to boost your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, which is basically about producing content that you can embed in your website to make it appear higher up the rankings if people do a Google search, for example, within your industry. So one way you can do this, and there's a more detailed description of this, I've referenced the source for this on the bottom of the slide, but you can use ChatGPT to identify what particular keywords you might want to put into an article that you're writing to go on your business page or your website that'll get it more hits and then rank higher on Google when people do searches. So I just put in, what keywords should I use in an article about Taylor Swift? And again, ChatGPT produces loads of options like Taylor Swift on its own, or Taylor Swift biography, discography, songs, career, awards, and so on. So these are multiple phrases that I can put in my website to try and ensure it gets more hits. Then there are other tools out there that'll analyze different phrases that you want to use and tell you which one you're better off using to get the most number of hits. So just for example, here, there's a tool called SEMrush. Now, this is a paid service. And you can put in different kinds of keywords in it. So in this one, I've put in Taylor Swift, and then it generates a set of statistics around that content. So the first thing you can see is the search volume. So this little, where I'm pointing out here with the red arrow, you can see the number of searches per month that are happening online around those keywords, Taylor Swift. And then it produces a statistic called keyword difficulty. It's shown as KD on the slide here. The higher the value out of 100 that you get for keyword difficulty, this means it's going to be very hard to get a good ranking using that term online because it's so generic. And so it's very competitive. Everybody uses the term Taylor Swift. So if you try and use that to boost your SEO, it's not going to really have a lot of impact for you. So what you can do is you can go down and look through the different types of terms that you might want to put on your website, like Taylor Swift merch or Taylor Swift albums in order and so on. And it'll tell you the ranking of how hard it is to get a hit on those on your website. So for example, you can see on the right-hand side here, if I did if I used the keywords Taylor Swift Seattle, there's typically only about 40,000 searches a month online around that. And the keyword difficulty on it is, it's only 46, so it's quite low. So that means in my website or on a piece of content from my website, if I have the words Taylor Swift Seattle, then it'll rank higher in Google searches. So just a very quick example to show you how you can use GPT for your search engine optimization. Okay, we're getting close to the end, so I'm going to blast through some other bits and pieces you might want to know about. And again, I'll remind you, you can get all of this content just by contacting us using the QR code at the end. So don't worry. One tool I find very useful is a website called chatpdf.com. And essentially, this is a version of AI that allows you to interact with a PDF of a document. So, for example, what I've done here is I've taken a journal publication that we wrote in conjunction with some people across Europe around interoperability in digital agriculture. I go into this ChatGPT system, Chat PDF system. I've uploaded my PDF document. You can see on the second image on the bottom. And then it pops up what it thinks are the main questions I might want to ask about that particular document. So on the bottom, you're saying, it's saying, what are the main challenges of interoperability in digital agriculture? Or how do the authors propose to align interoperability architectures for agri-food platforms, or whatever it may be. And then if I click on one of those questions, it'll go and analyze the document and give me a summary of what that document is saying about that particular question. It won't look for other sources on the web. It's just focusing on the one particular document. And that's very useful if you want to be sure that the answers you're getting from the GPT are just focused on one particular source. No, I asked it a question just to test it out. What European projects are discussed in this paper? And it did a good job. It picked out the 4 main European projects there on the bottom right that are actually part of this paper as well. So a very, very useful tool. Also, just a note on content editing. You can produce a long piece of content, and there's a couple of prompts here you can use to get it to fix any grammar or spelling, or to rewrite it to be more engaging, or give a new conclusion summary, or whatever you want it to do. And again, I can send you out a list of those prompts. There's also prompts on the right-hand side that you can use if you want to translate it into a different language, or if you want to change the cultural context of a piece of work as well. You can get it to do that type of thing for you too. Next, just a very simple example. If you're like me and you're terrible at writing formulas to put into spreadsheets, you can get GPT to actually do that for you. So a very simple prompt here, I've said, write an Excel formula to check the figures in column C against the figures in column B, and show same if they're identical, or similar if they're similar, which means within 10% of each other. Now, I would struggle to make a formula about that. So I write in plain English what I want the formula to do, and then ChatGPT put out the following output. It tells me, click on the side of where you want the result to be displayed, for example, D1. It tells me the exact formula to type in, and then it tells me to drag that formula down across all the rows that I want to be checked. And then it explains how the formula actually works. So a very useful way of actually getting it to help you with your spreadsheets and data analysis as well. Multiple other apps and sources you can use for marketing. For example, I have 2 websites here that have the best and more of the best AI tools for marketing. So it's well worth looking at the content on those sites. Another website, which is over 200 ChatGPT prompts for marketers, for example. So tons and tons of prompts that you might want to take and paste into ChatGPT, for example, if you're into digital marketing. So well worth looking at those as well. And then finally, this is one that I just came across yesterday, a really nice AI system called napkin.ai. It's called Napkin because it's about taking your thoughts and drawing them on the back of a napkin, essentially. So you can go into this site, napkin.ai, again, sign up for a free account, put in a piece of text, or it could be a full document if you want, and it'll generate very nice, simple diagrams that you can copy and use for whatever you want to explain the piece of text that you've had in place, like quantum communication, for example. So while we're taking a look at Napkin AI as well, it can generate really nice content for your slides or your website or your brand and so on. Okay, we made it to the end with about 3 minutes left, and I will check in a minute to see if there's any questions and answers. Just a couple of things I want to bring to people's attention. First of all, if you want a copy of this webinar or the slides or the prompts and so on, just scan that QR code and you'll get brought to a form where you can ask just to get a copy of all that information. Or you can email info@waltoninstitute.ie. We've multiple events and initiatives coming up in Waterford over the coming months, again, as part of the run-up to Toys for Engineers. Tomorrow, we'll have some folks from Walton Institute. We've taken over part of the chamber offices where we have a drop-in clinic. So you have a company and you need help in the technical or innovation area, just drop in. It's free. Drop in and have a chat, and we'll see how we can help you out. On the 7th of March, we have the Women in Business lunch with Waterford Chamber. The 3rd to the 8th of March is Enterprise Week with Waterford Local Enterprise Office. The 3rd of April, we have our Business and Innovation Expo run by Waterford Chamber. The 7th of April, we'll have our next innovation webinar series, which is about our European Digital Innovation Hub, which is a system where you can get funding to help you in your business. And then, of course, Toys for Engineers on the 4th of October. Some other areas in the skills development area that are coming up soon. We'll be announcing dates, how to use Qualtrics for SMEs, an introduction to extended reality, leveraging near-field communication, and the potential of AI for business, where we do a deeper dive on business-type applications of AI beyond just ChatGPT. And the one other thing I should mention is we do have a scheme within Walton Institute called the AI Sprint, and this is where you can use a voucher from Enterprise Ireland, like an innovation voucher, to come in and sit with the team in Walton and very quickly walk through your business and get an understanding of how AI can help your business and how you might want to integrate it with your products and services. We've had a lot of traction on that scheme in the past, and it's something that you might want to engage with in the future as well. Okay, that is the end of the webinar. I'm just going to briefly go into the question and answers. I'm not sure will we get time to go through it all. So I'll just try and briefly go through some of the questions. Will the system remember things you've told it in previous conversations to learn about your business? Yes, it will. And it particularly will if you sign up for a paid account. Next question, are there advice steps for businesses to take to make sure that when people look for services or products that you provide, that ChatGPT can actually see it? Something like ChatGPT search optimization. I'm not 100% sure. Let me see. I'm trying to understand fully what the question means. Make sure that when people look for services or products. I'm not 100% sure, Rory, but I will look up. I have your email address. I will look it up and check it out for you. In relation to using free AI tools, who owns the IP, and are there any restrictions in using the output in commercial applications, etc.? Good question, James. Yeah, as far as I know, certainly if you use the free AI tools, a lot of the content will actually be watermarked. So if you go back and look at one of those images I generated a little bit earlier in the presentation, it'll have a watermark on it saying where it was generated from. But all of those sites will have terms and conditions. It will have terms and conditions around the use of their content as well. And I would say particularly for commercial applications. But I presume if you buy a commercial license for these technologies, then you should have more freer use, but you would want to check the T's and C's. In ChatGPT, if it turn off memory and settings, do you think the model really won't store or harvest the data or text you enter into the chatbot? I have to say, I can't say for sure where your information is going to go, and that's why I was saying things like, don't upload confidential information into these GPT type systems. One thing I would say, and it's probably a subject for another day, is if you use DeepSeek AI, you can actually install, if you have a good enough computer, you can install a local installation of DeepSeek that's disconnected from the internet. So you're basically getting the AI model running on a local machine. There are instructions online on how to do that. If you want to send me an email, I can send you instructions. That way it's shut off from the internet and you can still interact with it without any concerns about what's generated. Next, how to validate the authenticity of the AI content generated. Again, if you force it to tell you the sources of information it's using, and you can force it to pinpoint where in those sources of information it's getting its information from, then you can just click through and validate that it's correct information that's being used. When is the anticipated landing date for the agent aspect of paid GPT for booking hotels? Tara, I'm actually not sure what the answer to that is, but again, I'll try and find out for you. I'll have your contact details from the webinar, and I'll try and answer that question and send you out the answer as well. I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, we've gone 5 minutes over the time. Again, thanks for everybody for dialing in. There's been a really great interest in it. I really hope you got some value out of it. If you got value from the presentations, it'd be great if you could put up some nice comments or feedback on our social media and so on. And if there's future topics you'd like folks from the Chamber or folks from Walton Institute or both to hold webinars about, please do get in touch and we'll see, can we arrange those as well. I think we're gone. Oh, yeah, there's a few thank yous. That's great. So we've had no more questions there. I think we can close the webinar there at that point. As I said, if you want all the content and want to get in touch, just scan the QR code or use the email address and we'll get back to you directly with it. So again, thanks everybody for dialing in and looking forward hopefully to seeing you at some of our events over the coming weeks and months.